All right. Well, uh, thank you everybody for being here for the first quarter informational webinar about the 2024 transportation projects. Um, this is a chance to find out a little bit more about the projects if you haven't had any chance to attend one of our other engagement opportunities, and a chance to hear from the project managers about these projects. So we'll go through the slideshow here in a moment. We'll go through some the agenda and some housekeeping tips, and then walk through each of the projects. So first thing, if you're listening in, is that we'll go through the housekeeping things for Zoom and some panelist introductions, and then we'll do the project overviews. And then at the end, if there are any questions, we'll have a Q&A session. For those who aren't here today, this webinar will be recorded and then posted on the City of Kalamazoo YouTube page. We do this with each of the webinars. And so it's just a resource to share and go back to if you missed this opportunity, if you know anyone who wanted to come but wasn't able to come. It's just a chance for you to go back and learn about the projects. And like I said before, for this webinar, we're going to be utilizing the Q&A function. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, you can select the Q&A button at the bottom and submit, and then at the end of the webinar, staff can answer those. So today we've got members of our Public Works team and myself from the planning team to go over each of these projects. Each of the Public Works staff members are the managers for these projects, and so they're the experts on these projects and will be able to answer any of those questions you might have. So without further ado, these are the projects we'll touch base on today. So there's Ransom Street Phase 2 work starting this year. There's Westnedge Avenue from Whites to Vine, Whites Road from Parkview to Westnedge, the Inkster Bridge reconstruction project, the Howard Street project from Stadium to West Michigan, a touch point on our Safe Streets for All federal traffic calming pilots, the Michigan Street two-way conversion project, which is wrapped up in our Kalamazoo Avenue project, the Safe Routes to School project along Winchell and on Howard Street, and then finally just a short overview of the Riverview Drive maintenance project. So these aren't all the projects. If you visit the City of Kalamazoo website, you can check out the other projects that are occurring. You can also subscribe for updates on the city's website, which is a really easy way to stay in touch with these projects. So anytime we make an update to the project page, you'll be notified and be up to date with the most accurate information. And this is kind of how the slides are laid out. We'll also have some project maps to kind of showcase where these are located. But basically just looking at the timeline, total cost, and broadly what work is happening. So we'll kick it off first with Ransom Street, Phase 2. We have Ryan Stoughton here, who is the project manager for this particular project, and to speak about it. So Ryan.
Sorry, had to unmute. Thanks again, Nolan, for putting this together and extending the invite to talk about the great things that the city's doing out here on Ransom Street. To kind of continue with what we started last year. Last year we started, I believe it was Wallbridge, and went to Pitcher. That concluded late in the fall last year. So we're going to kind of pick it up right there, right at Pitcher Street this year, and continue to venture to the west. Right now, we're looking at kind of doing it in a few different phases of phase two. So we kind of have them alphabeted out, kind of phase 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. And I can kind of get into a little bit more detail on that here in a minute. To kind of extend from last year, kind of total investment that we're looking at is just over $9 million. A good portion of that, the city was granted a CWSRF loan through the state of Michigan to upsize an interceptor that traverses down Ransom Street currently that's been pretty undersized since the early 90s. So we're taking basically a 24-inch diameter pipe and making it a 42-inch diameter pipe. Along with that, we're going to be doing some water main upgrade work, some water main service work, and then as well as partnering with our public works folks, doing some real good corridor revitalization through there. So some really good items there. So kind of touch there some of the items that the public works folks have been looking at: some new sidewalks, new lane layouts, lighting, street trees. Huge item that was really completed last year were the two railroad crossings on Ransom Street down at the east end there. Partnered with Grand Elk Railroad on that. Was able to get that work completed last year to really renew those facilities there. And then as we move through the phases that we're in and toward the west, really make a great placemaking for the Northside neighborhood and the cultural business district that we have through there. So you can see here in the slides, kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. We kind of broke it up into a few different phases to try to, make the bites a little bit more edible. So if you've driven around the area, you've probably seen some of the little message boards informing you that, hey, in a couple of weeks, the kind of avoid some of the Ransom Street area because you're going to get detoured around it. So what we're starting at first is, like I mentioned, starting at Pitcher. That phase is going to go all the way through the Burdick Street intersection. However, I'm going to kind of asterisk that a little bit. Knowing that the criticality of the north-south traffic volume through these intersections, we're actually going to initially stop short of Burdick Street in the initial shutdown just to keep traffic moving north and south through that Burdick Street corridor. And we won't close the Burdick Street intersection until the very end of phase 2A to try to minimize impacts to traffic through there. So that's kind of that little asterisk there for the Burdick Street intersection, if you will. And then we'll kind of continue to bite off chunks as we go down. A key item that we're looking at is we want to make sure that from a traffic perspective, motorized and non-motorized, that we make sure that at any given time from a north-southbound traffic perspective that we keep either Burdick Street or Rose Street open. That's been an item that, from the community engagement events that everybody really shared with us, as well as the intimate knowledge from our public works folks, that they really wanted to keep one of those open. So the plan that we have in place really helps to make that a reality for us this season.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. It's definitely a big project. Glad to hear the updates on it. And again, there'll be the next quarterly webinar, hopefully some positive updates for this one. So moving along, hold on. So moving along, we've got Westnedge Avenue, and I'll pass that off to Dennis or George to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. We'll go ahead and talk about this one. So this is one of our most impactful projects to the traveling public for the 2024 season. So this will start in a week from Monday. And what this project is it's a water main replacement effort. And then the streets department is going to come back after the water main is placed and services are connected to do repaving work, rebuild the roadway, do improvements to the sidewalk and ADA crossings, as well as the signals and signal timing along this whole corridor. So as you can see there are a lot of improvements included in this effort. During this effort, I know Nolan has a few slides later on, and we'll get to how all these projects work together. But the traffic pattern on this will be that we will not permit northbound traffic on Westnedge Avenue, but southbound traffic will remain open. Northbound traffic will be detoured onto Burdick Street. So right now, Public Works is working on updating the signal timings as well as the signal heads and how those are phased on Burdick Street to handle the traffic from Westnedge. We would just remind the public that Burdick Street is a 25 mile per hour through that detour. So just reminding folks to go ahead and slow down, go to 25 miles per hour through the neighborhood. It's a highly residential street with small businesses throughout it. So definitely as you're going through, just be mindful of that. But it's going to be a good project on Westnedge to get that infrastructure complete. We haven't been in here to this extent in some time. So the water main does really need upgraded. We have had a long history of water main breaks and lead service replacements along here. So this is the last step in that to really make this corridor last for the next 50 to 100 years.
Great. Now we've also got White's Road sort of interacting with the Westnedge Avenue project.
Great. I'm going to take this one. And so White's Road interacting with the Westnedge project. White's Road is going to take place at the same time as Westnedge. How these traffic patterns will merge is that White's will be open to eastbound traffic up to Westnedge. Westbound traffic on White's Road will be detoured to either Howard or Kilgore Road, depending on if you're coming from the north side of town or the south side of town. So just be mindful of that as you're coming into the project area. And then it will proceed, through the whole construction season. And this has a very similar scope of work to Westnedge Avenue with the water main replacement and then the road rebuilding signal work. The major change that folks will notice on White's after it is repaved and put back together is that it will have 3 lanes instead of 4. So that really just is a major safety improvement to the corridor, allows for safer pedestrian crossings, as well as lessens the impact of crashes in that area, and it really smooths that out. There's a lot of left-hand turn movements along that corridor for the residential areas. And so we're looking forward to that project being done, and that'll match in seamlessly to Parkview Avenue to the west. And Inkster Bridge. So this will occur mid-March. The old wooden bridge of Inkster is supposed to be demoed mid-March, and then that project will go through Labor Day to have all the new footings and all of the infrastructure for that bridge redone. So the old bridge will completely come down, new bridge will completely go up. So there'll be lighting improvements on the bridge above and underneath, as well as some sidewalk improvements directly underneath the bridge that will also see a replacement of the railing. So I know a lot of the residents in this area are looking forward to having this back open again, as are we. So that project will be going forward. And again, like White's and Westnedge, this is a mix of federal and local funds. And so that project will be starting up here shortly. And then this is how those 3 projects work together, as well as Howard Street is also shown on here, which we'll get to in a second. So Westnedge, you have southbound traffic still permitted, northbound detour to Burdick Street. White's Road, eastbound's permitted, westbound is detoured to Kilgore or Howard. And then you have Bronson Boulevard will have to be closed while Inkster Bridge is demoed and the new structure is being placed up. Once work can safely happen over the roadway, Bronson Boulevard will reopen. So that section of Bronson Boulevard will be closed right at the bridge. Local traffic will still be permitted through the neighborhood. And then Howard Street will also have some traffic impacts, but not as significant as the White's, Westnedge, and Bronson area.
All right, moving on to Howard Street.
All right, that one is me. um, my name's Tom Palumbo. I am one of the engineers in public services, along with George, Ryan, some of the others on here. Howard Street is slated to take place during WMU's summer semesters, so outside of the regular school year. It's going to be the stretch of Howard that runs right along Western's campus from Stadium up to West Michigan there. So it's all divided. You've got the grass median there. We're going to be, the whole road is going to be resurfaced for this one. And the median, we're going to be making some tweaks to the way that that's shaped. Mainly at the north end where we currently have those plastic posts that are channeling traffic different than it used to be. But also we'll be doing some work putting in a turnaround in the median where traffic will be able to take essentially a U-turn that will bring you to southbound Howard and allow traffic that's northbound on Howard to get onto Rogowski Ave, which Rogowski is that it's a little stub that goes into the neighborhood back there. I want to say over to Lafayette Street or nearby that. So yeah, it's gonna make things a little bit more accessible for anyone who might need to use that. It'll make it so that nobody needs to basically get up to that intersection with Michigan and then be like, oh, I need to turn around because I need to get down to Rogowski. We're going to eliminate the need to do that. So that's going to be a nice touch to that one. Other work that we're going to be doing there is some guardrail, some storm sewer improvements, as you can see on there. And we're going to be doing a little bit of new sidewalk with that also. And yeah, that's the plan for Howard Street. Oh yes, and yeah, thanks for getting that map on there too, Nolan. I always a helpful visual. There will be. Oh, also I wanted to mention there will be traffic maintained. There will be at least one lane going in each direction, so there won't be any detours for this. With the reduction in lanes, with construction going on, everything's going to be slower. So I would recommend, if you don't need to use this route, it's better to find something different. But there's no official detour for it.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Tom. And then our Safe Streets for All proposed projects, some updates there.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. So some updates on the Safe Streets for All. So this work has been going on since we received notice of award on this grant in early 23. So what we're doing here is we have already gone out for community engagement and received a lot of really good input. We had 1,000+ survey responses during our survey input period between December and January. Since then, this month, we have been poring over those results and compiling them into a report and are going to soon be posting that for the public viewing. That survey was one aspect of our data collection. So we also took the crash histories of these areas as well as any speed information that we had, and have compiled all of that information with the survey information to decide which of these proposed locations are actually going to go forward towards implementing a pilot project. So what these projects are they will be trial and pilot sort of projects in nature, which means that they will be done with paint, with some minor asphalt work and delineators, bollards, things like that, that will go up to trial out different methods for protecting the traveling public, whether that's by pedestrian whether that's by vehicle, whether that's by bicycle. We're in the business to create safe streets for people to use, regardless of their mode of transportation that they either want to take or they have available to them. And so we're looking at many areas across the board. Again, this funding is from a federal grant, and it is only for the purposes of Safe Streets for All and trial measures to test these different methods in these areas. So our next steps in this process will be to report the survey information, the selected projects, and then we'll be moving on towards data collection this spring prior to this work being done. And then we'll have data collection while it's in place. And then we'll be posting the results of that data collection biannually. So twice yearly, we'll go ahead and share the results we have. And these pilots, for the most part, are going to be 3 years in length, except for some of the protected bike lanes. Those will be seasonal in length. So they'll go up during the bike season, and then they would be taken down over the winter months for winter maintenance. So not every item is going to be up all year. And the great part about this grant is it also allows us flexibility to change or to adapt one of these pilots as needed. So that's kind of where we stand for that. But really liked a lot of the responses that we got, a lot of good public input. And so we'll be sharing that back out.
Awesome. Okay, and then Michigal Avenue. Dennis, did you want to take this one?
Sure, I can talk about this. I'm Dennis Randolph. And as a first step, actually the first big construction phase of our two-way conversion program for downtown Michigan, Kalamazoo, that we have been talking about and working on for a number of years, many years long activity. But we are planning to do the first phase, which will be Michigal Avenue from Maine to Kalamazoo. And we are in the process of taking bids for that project right now. Hopefully we will get going sometime this summer, no later than into third quarter, but hopefully if contractors are ready to go earlier. Because of the nice weather we're having, all the contractors on our projects are starting earlier. So our schedules are flexing a little bit right now. And that's why you see so much activity, especially this last week. You see cones and signs and our electricians out doing a lot of work. So we hope this job will get going. It will be a conversion from one way to two way. As I mentioned, it's the first step. The next steps after that will be to actually convert then Kalamazoo Avenue from Michigal over to Douglas, Douglas from Kalamazoo down to West Main, and West Main from Douglas over to Stadium. And we have to complete those four before we can do the big conversion project on Kalamazoo. Mainly it's to try to be able to give folks an alternative routing so that not everything is blocked down. And we know that it's going to seem like that sometimes, especially this summer. There will be a lot of work, and we're trying our best to keep confusion, delay to a minimum, but unfortunately it is almost unavoidable. So we will do this project first, do those other four projects, get them going sometime early, hopefully in 2025. And then later on in 25, actually bid and let the Kalamazoo conversion itself, and that will extend into 2026. At that point, you'll see another big project starting up, the conversion for Michigan Avenue. So you see we have a series of projects that are going on with Michigan Avenue and those east-west streets in our downtown corridor. And again, unfortunately, it will be disruptive, and we know that. and some folks that I wanted to mention, sometimes folks ask, well, why are you doing everything all at once? Well, uh, unfortunately, with big construction projects like this that cost millions of dollars, we're dependent upon when money becomes available, especially if we obtain revolving loan funds or other federal money. We can apply for the money. We don't always know exactly when it's going to be coming in. And so therefore we have some say on the schedule, but what you're seeing right now is kind of a convergence of good things. We've gotten a lot of money to be able to do this work that is needed, right? The road surfaces are pretty bad shape on a lot of our streets, and you know that, and our sewer and water system needs to be upgraded. So unfortunately, though, it will be disrupted. And I wanted to add one other thing about that disruption. We are doing our best to get notice out for detours, signing those detours, making sure they aren't confusing. You'll see that the detours tend, we talk about them as being recommended. We hope that you would go that way again, follow the speed limits and be careful, certainly. But you're certainly free also to find your other routes. We would hope that people will respect other people in the neighborhoods and not go down residential streets to cause problems for folks who live on those streets as cut-throughs. But certainly we are doing our best along the recommended routes to adjust signal timings and make sure that traffic can move as good as possible during the construction season. And as you all know, in Michigan, construction season is between the snows. So right now we're on our countdown to the first snowfall, which often comes right around Halloween. So we need to get as much work done as possible before the next snow season comes, and then again continue on for a number of years. So this project, and we got a lot of big projects out here, as you've already heard about. This is the kickoff to that great big project we've been talking about for so many years in Kalamazoo to do the conversion of our downtown streets. So I think that'll do it, Nolan.
All right, thank you, Dennis. So moving on to a little smaller scale project, Safe Routes to School on Winchell Ave and Howard Street. George, did you want to touch base on these two?
Yes. So this work is still scheduled for this year. Right now, we have all of our documents with the state's local agency program, who is the ones funding the majority of this effort. So right now, pending their review and final approval, this will be going out for bid with construction happening in 2024. So we're still expecting this work to occur between the school periods over the summer break and be ready for use this fall.
Awesome. And just to point out too, these projects have been ongoing for quite some time. So the Safe Routes to School program is quite intensive and rigorous. So the end product will be better non-motorized connections for all users in these areas, particularly connecting to the local elementary schools and middle schools, Maple Middle Magnet, and then Winchell Elementary. So, and then finally, one of the resurfacing projects affecting sort of the east side of the community. Open to whomever would like to touch base on this one.
Yeah, I can do this one, Nolan. So this work was awarded actually at the last commission meeting. So we're proceeding forward and should be getting an official schedule from the contractor shortly, which will be communicating out more specific dates to the public as this gets underway. Two-way traffic will be maintained on Riverview Drive. This is going to be just a resurfacing project prior to them doing the final top layer of resurfacing, they're going to need to do some actual pavement repairs underneath that top surface. So most of this project is the time spent will be actually repairing the roadway underneath there. So that way we're not just putting new asphalt on something that will break up right away. So that project will be going forward. Prior to that occurring, there will be some sidewalk work also occurring on Riverview Drive in the beginning of April, which is a separate contract. But we are trying to get in there with another effort to just replace that sidewalk that's in bad need of repair prior to this project going forward. And then this resurfacing work should take just a couple months to complete. So relatively low impact. There'll even be some night work to minimize the impact to kind of that rush hour traffic during the day. So that just be aware of that, especially if you drive on the east side of town and take that route in. You can avoid most of that construction if you take Gold Road, but then don't proceed down Ransom because Ryan has work down there. So definitely go Goal, and then you can find your way from there. On North Street is a great route across town if you need to use that to go east-west.
Awesome. Thanks, George. And mentioned previously, but there's been a number of transportation related open houses. And just for clarification, open house is really, an informational session. It's a chance for residents who have any questions about these projects to come and talk to us in person. Really sort of informal setting, just a good chance to meet the staff and ask those questions. So we had the first one on January 16th. The second one was just this week, Tuesday on February 20th. And then the next one is scheduled for March 19th, which will be a few weeks after most of the construction starts. So definitely plan on attending that one. This is at the Girl Scouts Regional Center off of Maple Street here in town. It's ADA accessible, there's plenty of parking, and we're looking forward to seeing you there if you haven't been to some of the other ones already. And with that, those are the projects that we covered today. We don't seem to have any questions right now for today, but just wanted to shout out that 311 is always an option if you are looking for any specific questions or have concerns about these projects. You can reach out to 311 and they will get you to the correct project manager for each of these projects. Also, like I mentioned at the beginning, please check out the City of Kalamazoo website. There's an option to subscribe to all of these projects. So that would mean anytime we're updating information on those pages about those projects, you would be informed. So that's a great way to stay in touch with any updates forthcoming for these projects. And just a good way to, plan ahead. And with that, I just want to thank you for listening. Thanks for our panelists for providing this information. And again, this will be recorded and put up on the City of Kalamazoo YouTube page, and we will see you at the next quarterly webinar. Thanks.